Here we go. Baseball is back as the Dodgers start their spring training schedule on a gorgeous day at Camelback Ranch in Glendale, Arizona. The Milwaukee Brewers come into town, the reigning champs in the Central Division. Dodgers and the Brewers starting off this spring schedule. Dodgers coming off the 106-win season and a very exciting day with the signing of Freddie Freeman made official. Here's what the spring training schedule looks like over the first week. Joe Davis and Eric Karros with you. Hope you're having a great week so far. And a unique spring here, Eric, in that instead of 30 games, it's going to be just 19.
I mean, guys have just been down there for a few days, and already we're starting ball games. So I think as a player, you're kind of excited because you don't have that 30-game spring training. It's, hey, let's get loose, let's get ready, and let's start the season.
Well, during the long work stoppage, there were some questions. One of them was, would Clayton Kershaw wind up back in Dodger blue? The answer very quickly became yes, as he signed a one-year contract on Sunday, and he'll start this spring opener.
All is good in the world, right? We didn't know, was Kersh going to retire? Was he going to possibly go somewhere else? He ended up right where he's supposed to be, back in Dodger blue.
All right, so Kershaw for the Dodgers. Ethan Small will go for the Brewers in the first game of the spring on the day where Freddie Freeman was introduced as the newest Dodger. Dodger Baseball on Sportsnet LA is brought to you by Carl's Jr. Bacon just got better. Try the all-new Bacon Beast menu from Carl's Jr. At Camelback Ranch as the spring schedule begins. Joe Davis, Eric Karros, and on the field, Kirsten Watson.
Hey guys, I mean, look, I'm on the field. These guys are so excited to be back playing baseball. That's been the theme of this spring training. Look, during the lockout, they started to get a little antsy. There was constant communication. Walker Buehler was the team rep for the CBA, so he was bringing back all the news to the guys. So the group chat, we know it was always going on, but right now, just to be back and seeing each other, it has been nonstop smiles. I mean, look, this is my second season with the team, but this might be the happiest that I have ever seen them, and they're ready. They're right here. It's time for them to play some baseball, guys.
All right, Kirsten, you had an extra long off-season. The work stoppage going 99 days. There were some times there where it was like, okay, are they going to get this thing figured out? Is the season in jeopardy? But ultimately just kicked back a couple weeks and still going to play a full schedule once this thing gets going.
Yeah, where we're at right now, it kind of feels like all is forgotten, right? That winter was just, to put it mildly, was not exciting as if you're a baseball fan. But we've got the 162-game season. We're going to have a few doubleheaders, but most importantly, we've got Dodger baseball.
Umpires and the managers of these two teams, Dave Roberts, Craig Counsell, exchanging lineup cards. And could not ask for a better day for the spring training opener. 79 degrees, light blue skies above. Have these 16 games technically Cactus League play, and then the Dodgers will come back to Southern California for the Freeway Series. Final 3 games tuning up for the regular season, which will, with the restructured schedule, begin on the road with a series in Colorado and then at Minnesota before they come home to welcome in the Reds for the home opener. They take the field behind Clayton Kershaw, and here's the lineup for the Brewers that he'll face off with. Leadoff man today is Jace Peterson, followed by Willie Adames, who they acquired last season from Tampa Bay. Looking for a bounce-back season from Christian Yelich, who was as good as anybody in baseball for a couple of years. The last 2 years has struggled mightily as he's dealt with injuries. They acquire Hunter Renfroe from the Boston Red Sox. Former San Diego Padre and Tampa Bay Ray had a good season last year in Boston. Keston Hiura is the first baseman and 5-hitter. Mike Brasso is the 6-hitter and third baseman, another former Tampa Bay Ray. Corey Ray, first-round draft pick a few years back out of Louisville, is in center field hitting 7th with Mario Feliciano, one of their top prospects, doing the catching. And a former Dodger, Tyler White, who spent last season in AAA with the Toronto Blue Jays, rounds out the order, hitting 9th for Counsell and the Brewers. And here is Clayton Kershaw, who, boy, it's just hard to envision him in another uniform, but you knew that there was a possibility that that would happen as he became a free agent. Went into the work stoppage not knowing what he would decide coming out of it, but very quickly after the gate dropped and off and running the front offices went, Clayton Kershaw and the Dodgers agreed to that one-year deal.
Yep, right back to L.A. And I think when you talk about the possibility of him leaving, it wasn't so much leaving, it was more going back home, sleeping in his own bed. He's got his young family. So that is all very understandable. But at the end of the day, comes back to be a Dodger for at least another year, continue the legacy, one of the greatest left-handed pitchers the game has ever seen. You know, forget just the organization. We're talking about the history of Major League Baseball.
Getting ready for his 15th Major League season, and as will be a big part of the discussion throughout this spring, it's going to be different when you're looking at where you need to be built up to for the end of spring training, just because it's not realistic to be built up to 6 or 7 innings when you only have 3 weeks to get ready. So you get that stair step, you get that ladder that he'll climb to get ready for the season. And the first of those steps begins here. Off we go with a strike to Jace Peterson. The Brewers' 95 wins last year was one shy of their franchise record. They won the Central and went to the postseason for the 4th consecutive year before bowing out to the Braves in the first round. And high hopes for this Brewers team here in 2022. Kershaw quickly ahead 0-2. Home of the next one. First curveball is in the dirt, 1-2.
It'll be interesting to watch what Kershaw does today, just again because it's his first start. You just throw a lot of fastballs, just try and get acclimated to the mound, game situation.
That one takes off on him. Shaking out the cobwebs. You up there as a hitter, you've been waiting all winter to get into a real game, and then the 4th pitch you see does this to you.
Yeah, you know, it's all fun and games unless you're the guy standing in the box. And then you're like, oh, man. You hear somebody yell in the background, hey, this is the big leagues.
2-2, Peterson. It's a gently foul. How about as a hitter? When we talk about the pitchers building up through just a 19-game spring schedule, and that's what spring training is built for. That's what the normal 6-week length is for. 19 games you feel good about as a hitter?
So I like that, because spring training for me as a position player always felt like it was too long.
Ground ball right side at second base today, Gavin Lux for the first out.
Yeah, going back to the length of spring training as a hitter, the thing that was always most important for me was just to get my timing. I didn't necessarily need to be hitting the ball hard or having a lot of success, but I wanted to be able to see the pitch, slow things down, whether that was at the plate or in the field.
Does that happen within 3 weeks like this?
It'll happen within 3 weeks. And remember, you can mimic a lot of this just standing in on cages or standing in on guys' bullpens.
Willie Adames, who was a key piece for the Brewers last year after they got him in a trade from Tampa Bay, takes ball 1 from Kershaw.
Yeah, he was great. I mean, he really, he turned the season around for this organization.
There's a curve that lands for a strike.
You know, a couple different reasons. Not only what he did to solidify shortstop and offensively, but just his personality and the way he handled things in the clubhouse. He was great.
Swings and misses, 1-2. Kershaw comes home with the next one. That's in the dirt, and the count evens up. Kershaw, days shy of his 34th birthday.
It's kind of crazy. I mean, 34, which, you know, for me, especially now, it doesn't seem that old. But Kersh has been around forever.
Pulled sharply to third. There's Turner. And there's a pair of ground ball outs to start. Yeah, 15th year coming. It's just, it is hard to believe. Feels like he was just breaking into the majors, was the next big thing, and now into his 15th year.
I remember one of his first starts was against St. Louis, and Albert Pujols at the time. You know, Kersh didn't have a great game, but he had made the comments about this kid is going to be something. And this was, you know, again, one of his first starts. And he was right on.
Christian Yelich pops the first pitch up. On the left side, will Turner have room? He does, and down the steps in one piece. That's the main thing in this spring training, isn't it? In one piece for all of them. And Clayton Kershaw with a 1-2-3 first. Dodgers come to bat after this. 7th season as the manager of the Dodgers, and brings in the #1 winning percentage in Major League history for any manager. Here's the lineup that he sends out there for the spring opener with Trey Turner to lead it off. Both Turners at the top of the order, with Justin hitting second and starting at third base. Will Smith catches and bats third. Then it's A.J. Pollock in left. Cody Bellinger in center. Chris Taylor DHs in the opener with Lux at second, Beatty at first, and a late change to the lineup. Luke Raley on hug watch on the first day of spring training has just been traded to the Tampa Bay Rays, reports say. He was pulled from the lineup at the last moment. Zach McKinstry plugged in. So here comes Trey Turner to face off with Ethan Small, former first-round draft pick out of Mississippi State. Was drafted in 2019, had a great first season, then, like so many minor leaguers, didn't have any season in 2020 before spending last year between AA and AAA. His first one to Trey Turner misses.
When you watch the angle of his delivery, I mean, really comes out over the top. He's got a great changeup as well.
Strike on Turner, who will be in Dodger blue for a full season. Dodgers had him for the final 2 months of his batting champion season last year. .328, by many measures, one of the top players in baseball. And it's going to be great to watch him, not just for a full season, but in his natural position of shortstop.
Well, you just hit it right on the head. You saw the .328 batting average, right? Very successful. That's playing a new position and going to a new team, and he was able to accomplish that. So now he's in a comfort zone. Man, look out.
And already discussions externally, of course, about extending him long term. He has just 1 year left on his deal. He was asked about it already during spring training, and he said he's absolutely open to having a conversation and gathering as much information as he can as he goes into free agency.
Is that how you describe it? Gathering as much information as you. I mean, it always strikes me. No, you know, I don't want to talk about the $150 million contract or $200 million. You know, I don't really want to discuss. Let me. You know, that's the thing. It's, as a player, I think you're pretty receptive most of the time if somebody's offering you a long-term deal. You'll listen.
Payoff pitch. He's out in front of that changeup you mentioned of Ethan Small, one away.
You see that just pulls the string on that. And with Small, again, the delivery is a bit funky. He's not going to overwhelm you with powerful stuff. So as a hitter, he's the type of guy that you have to see a few times. And whether that's live or now with the, you know, the virtual headsets, and you can mimic like you're standing in, but you have to see him a few times.
Justin Turner, so from one of the newest Dodgers to the longest tenured Dodger position player, his 9th year with the Dodgers, which is another one of those hard to believe numbers. Talk about Clayton Kershaw being in his 15th year, Turner in his 9th with LA.
Yeah, you know, I mean, I remember doing a game, College World Series, and Justin was with Cal State Fullerton, and you know, this guy was, I mean, a great player there. And then here you are, fast forward, and he's really become, you know, in Dodger history, one of the most important players, especially when you talk about postseason, his impact on the organization. I mean, what a ride it's been.
On a 2-1 pitch, Turner cracks it foul, and it's 2-2. Only 3 third basemen that have played more games in franchise history. Ron Cey.
Ken McMullen? No.
Adrian Beltre.
Oh, Beltre. Yeah.
And if you get this other one,
you're going to go back. You're going to tell me it's got to be, what is it, like?
It's back a ways.
Okay, so I'm not even.
George Pinckney.
Yeah, I would have missed that one. Yeah.
He was one of the first third basemen of franchise history back in the 1890s. Considered an Iron Man of his day. Played every inning of every game for 6 years in a row. George Pinckney.
Lou Gehrig before it was Lou Gehrig.
Yeah.
Cal Ripken before it was Cal.
Payoff. Bouncer. Picked up by Adames to get Turner. With the addition today of Freddie Freeman, when you look at the lineup the Dodgers are going to put up there on a given day, you've got 8 former All-Stars, 3 former MVPs. The one player who is not a former All-Star in a normal starting 9 is considered the best catcher in the National League by many. This man here, Will Smith. Of course, JT Realmuto right there in that conversation. Yep. Yadier Molina still belongs in the conversation, but very quickly, because he's not been in the big leagues for that long, even though it may seem like he's been here a while, he's established himself as one of the game's best.
Well, and I think, too, it's exciting as a Dodger fan. He continues to improve, right? Everybody had always talked about, the ability to hit, but the power, I don't think anybody saw that coming. Not at all. And then the receiving skills, his ability to throw. The Dodgers have historically had some great catchers, right? Offensive catchers as well. You go back to the Campanella days, and obviously you fast forward to the Mike Piazza, Paul Lo Duca, Russell Martin, guys that the last few years they could swing it as well.
Smith does on a line to right for Hunter Renfroe, and the teams trade 1, 2, 3 innings in the first. Off and rolling in Glendale and in the spring schedule.
MLB app to get in-game video highlights, live pitch-by-pitch, breaking news, player updates, and stat leaderboards. All for your Dodgers. Get the MLB app.
You analysts walk around thinking that what we do is play-by-play people, reading the promos is easy, anybody can do it. And then you come into the Dodger broadcasts. You got to do them yourself.
Yeah, I wasn't quite ready for that. I mean, just kind of a little nervous.
I get it. Hunter Renfroe, Kershaw is going to stay in there, ball one. They didn't tell you in your initial conversations that was part of the gig, huh?
Well, they didn't tell me that reading was a prerequisite.
No. Finding out the hard way. 2-0. So Kershaw out there for a second inning of work. 12 pitches in the first inning, 8 of them for strikes, went 1, 2, 3. As he works on getting ready for the regular season. It was interesting to hear his side of things as he met with the media after signing his contract last weekend. Gets this one by Renfroe, and it's 2-1. There was a question of, did you ever consider retirement? And he said, honestly, early on during the work stoppage, it all had to do with the health of the arm. It shut down his season 2 months early last year, kept him out of the postseason. He didn't know how that was going to recover. And if it didn't recover, he wasn't about to go through grinding through rehab or even surgery to try and come back. Retirement in that case would have been a consideration. But he was happy to find when he picked up a ball in January, threw for the first time, he felt healed.
Well, and that'll be the challenge for Kersh. That pitch was pretty darn good right there. But that'll be the challenge for him, just getting through a season. I mean, it seems, every year as he gets older, he's got to deal with issues, whether it's his back, whether it's his shoulder, whether it's the elbow. That's a nice pitch right there. And again, as he was able to figure out over the offseason, the arm, okay, I think I can manage it. And that's what this season's going to be about, managing health.
Leadoff man on, first base runner of the game for either side. And here's Keston Hiura taking a strike from Kershaw. He's 4th all-time in wins for the Dodgers, 185 of them. Good chance he becomes the all-time strikeout leader, chasing Don Sutton within 26 of his record. And isn't it amazing that you look back on the injury-riddled 2021 season, 3.55 ERA, and with the bar that he set, you look at that and say, Kershaw was off. But, I mean, that's still 15% better than league average last year. And yet, it was by quite a bit his highest one since his rookie season. His consistency, absolutely remarkable.
Well, as you mentioned, he set the bar so high. And he doesn't have to be the Kersh of old to make an impact on this Dodger staff. The reality is he just has to be healthy.
And it is a staff that is probably the biggest question mark at this point, and it's all relative, right? You've got Buehler and Urias and Kershaw as sure things. They brought in Andrew Heaney, who figures to be part of the rotation. Tony Gonsolin, David Price in consideration, and especially early on, a lot of guys going to get used to take down innings. It's line into center field. Bellinger comes on and makes a nice grab for the first out. Said he couldn't see it.
And the ball looked like it came off a little funky off of Hira's bat, like it was almost a knuckleball type. And as you mentioned, Bellinger acting like, well, I didn't see it or anything, but athletic enough to recover and make the catch.
And that is going to do it for Clayton Kershaw. Gets good hand, leaving the spring opener after 21 pitches. Gives up a walk and nothing else. We'll see who's coming in for him on the other side of this break. Second inning, back at Camelback Ranch after Clayton Kershaw goes the first 1 1/3, checks a box, his first outing of the spring. Joe Davis, Eric Karros, Kirsten Watson. Could not have asked for a better day. Not a cloud in sight. As the pitching coach Mark Pryor looks on. He has a busy job during spring training of cycling these guys through there, getting a look at a lot of different arms. Pretty much a pitcher per inning in these early games.
Shoot, he's in mid-season form. You see how well groomed that beard looked?
Oh, that thing
man.
never. There's no off season for that. Mike Brasso takes ball 1. We've reached that part of the spring where, by part of the spring, I mean second inning, first pitching change. He's a wonderful young fellow, throws with his right hand and wears number 91. Beyond that, we have information breaking. Last name Acosta. First name Aldry. Still a great guy. He's in there with a strike, 2-1.
Looks like a pretty decent sized guy too.
6'4", 226.
Yeah. There you go.
Out of Venezuela. Power sinker baller. 22 years old, replacing Clayton Kershaw here in the first game of the spring. And this is low, and it's 3-1 on Brasso, who had one of the memorable swings of 2020 in the postseason. Remember, he got thrown behind by Aroldis Chapman during the regular season and incited a near brawl, and then homered against Chapman to win the division series against the Yankees. Bounces this one along third foul. You talk about getting him back, not just getting him back by hitting the homer, but hitting the home run to clinch the series over the Yankees as the Rays made the run to the World Series.
Yeah, I mean, you talk about the fact that he hit a home run and obviously the magnitude of that hit, but just standing in the box and overcoming that uncertainty of somebody throwing 100 miles an hour at you and throwing at your head before, I mean, that in itself is something.
That is a walk for Brasso, and they're at first and second. First season in the Brewers uniform for him. First few years spent with Tampa Bay, up and down between the minors and the majors, but that one sparkling moment that he'll always be remembered for. One away in the second. Here's Corey Ray, former first-round draft pick out of Will Smith's program, Louisville. Attacks the first pitch. It's foul. He's a first-round pick in 2016. He's been slowed by injuries. And although he was able to make it to the major leagues for the first time last year, got up for one game, but can say that he's been a big leaguer and is hopeful to have a bigger impact this season. Nice pitch, showing 2.
Yeah, you know, Acosta, you mentioned the power sinker. He's going to throw that cutter versus left-handed hitters, and then he's also got that changeup that'll run away. The Dodgers do have a ton of arms in their minor league system. You know, guys that aren't even on the roster yet. Here's Kirsch.
Box checked. Gotta feel good about it.
Tight with the hair, too.
Very. It's the tightest we've seen in I don't know how long.
Yeah.
What did you do during the work stoppage? I got my hair cut. A knuckling bouncer that ricochets off Acosta. That is 1-3 as Beatty gets to the bag to retire Ray. Runners advance to second and third. And 2 gone in the second inning.
See, this ball just shoots right back up the middle off the right leg, and Beatty's smart enough to grab it, touch the base.
The spring training games about a couple things. We've talked about it being about the big leaguers, especially the pitchers, building up for the regular season, but it's also about these young guys that are getting these opportunities to, even though it's a spring training game, be a part of a big league game. Feliciano, the hitter, takes a ball from Acosta.
You know, and a lot of those instances are just trying to control your emotions and the adrenaline and calming down under these situations, because for these young guys, this is like the big leagues. Like, you're pitching at Dodger Stadium right now. And to try to calm yourself.
Driven to left center field. Back goes Bellinger. It's over his head, and it bounces off the wall to get the Brewers on the board. Mario Feliciano with a 2-run double, and it's 2-0 Milwaukee.
This pitch just stayed up out over the middle part of the plate. Feliciano just drives it. See Bellinger just playing it calmly off the wall. But getting back to, you know, as a young guy, you're obviously looking for some success, and, you know, nothing better than, you know, after a spring game being able to call your folks or your girlfriend and wife, say, hey, look, I got a hit today. I got some strikeouts. It's a big deal for these guys.
Old friend here, EK, Tyler White,
right,
was with the team a couple years ago. Last season was in AAA with Toronto, put up good numbers, OPS at 900.
Have bat, will travel, right?
Have bat, have beard. Former 33rd round draft pick, who spent several seasons time in the major leagues. He's out of Western Carolina, where he didn't even have much of an opportunity going in there to play. He was a walk-on out of a tiny town in North Carolina, but was great there and got drafted, stopped at all 7 levels of the minor leagues on his way to breaking in with Houston. And he finally gets there, achieves his dream by reaching the major leagues. And you talk about making an impression in for a guy in a spring training game, getting an opportunity. How about Tyler White reaches the actual major leagues, unlikely enough, and then proceeds to hit 3 home runs in his first 6 games. It was the American League Player of the Week, his first week in the big leagues. Goes out and gets that one. Bouncing ball, diving play by Trey Turner. Well, White beats it out and keeps the inning alive.
Nice play by Turner to keep the runner from scoring. Showing his range and then trying to bounce the ball over to the first base. Even that, you know, again, spring training's the first game. You know, are you going to be diving right out of the chute? Or are you going to be laying out? Because, again, there's even something to be said about pacing yourself and getting used to doing that. But your reactions take over, and he's diving right out of the chute.
There's a changeup for strike to Jace Peterson. Grounded out against Kershaw to start the game. Yeah, I would imagine you could tell yourself, all right, I'm not laying out. I'm not putting my body on the line. But then when a ball's actually hit,
right,
you're playing first, hit down the line. You're really just going to watch it go by.
So I'll tell you this. When I got older, there were, like, if the throws were erratic from an infielder and, you know, maybe going into the runner, sorry, dude, you're getting an error. Seriously, because there is something to be said. It's, you know, you're more important to the ball club on the field. Right?
At what point, though, do you reach the point of your career where you're comfortable doing that?
Oh, I was probably 3 or 4 years in. Although I will say, my rookie year, we had a shortstop that made, I want to say it was 50 some odd errors. And it got to a point where when we were on like 30 something, I was like, look, this dude, he can get 50 if I, you know, but I'm not sacrificing myself for
these are
these
regular
throws.
Season games at this point. Yeah,
Heck yeah, they were.
you got a career ahead of you.
No, I mean, but again, you know, that was a year we lost 99 ball games, but it's, you know, there is something to be said about you're more valuable when you start getting into meaningful games at the end of the year and postseason. That's a whole different story. Then you're running through a wall.
Bellinger's there, spots this one in that bright sunshine, brings an end to the second. Milwaukee getting the first runs of the day.
Makes his way to the clubhouse after pitching 21 pitches this afternoon. I caught up with his wife, Ellen, just about what his offseason looked like, and she told me at first the phone rang nonstop, but once the lockout was put into place, there was silence, and that was actually very peaceful for them as they welcomed their fourth son, Chance Kershaw. He is here at spring training, so he's gotten to be introduced to what it's like to see his dad playing some baseball, guys.
Awesome. It's great to hear. So good to have Clayton and Ellen and the whole Kershaw family back with the Dodgers for this, his 15th season, and a successful spring debut for him. 2-0 game as we go to the bottom of the second, and A.J. Pollock leads it off. Coming off back-to-back outstanding seasons. In the short 2020, he was third in the league in home runs. Last year, he had the highest OPS of his career, and then the big thing for him was exercising those postseason demons, because he had had some good times as a Dodger prior. Bad in the postseason, though. Last year, not the case. Hit above 300, had an OPS above 900 in the postseason, and put a fitting cap to a very, very good season.
Yeah, he really was solid last year. You know, most importantly, too, look at for everybody, but for AJ, you know, if he's healthy and he's able to post day in and day out, you know, he's an excellent ball player.
Last two seasons, 10th in the National League in on-base plus slugging. One spot ahead of Mookie Betts.
Right, you would never think that, right? It's
pounds this one on the ground to the hold it short. Backhand Adames, long throw and a nice play. One gone.
You know, that's what the Brewers do. They play defense. They're going to pitch and play defense. If they can get some offense this year as compared to what they had last year, because it was, for them, it was basically non-existent for them. But defensively, they catch the ball, and you know what they've got with Burns and Woodruff up top. Hader closing. I mean, they're going to be a team that you're going to have to contend with. You want to win the National League pennant.
Cody Bellinger, bases empty, one gone. Takes a strike. A little bit different looking stance, similar to what you saw him use down the stretch last year, as he found something. He hopes, the team hopes, that he can build off of that big October where he had 353 for the Dodgers after the worst regular season of his career. So rock bottom for him, EK, was a series against the Cardinals midway through September where he went 0 for 14, and it had obviously been a trying series up to that point, but he said, okay, I got to make some drastic changes, and so did, and it took a couple weeks for those to click. You saw him come to fruition in October, and then he had a full off season to try and build on those.
Yeah, for me, Cody, obviously he's got to make the mechanical adjustments, and it appears that he has. But it's going to be more mental than anything. And if he can just believe that he's as great a player as he is, I mean, that's so much of the battle. I mean, this game is so humbling mentally. And I don't think there's a more trying sport than playing baseball, and specifically when you get into hitting. And for Cody, it's, you know, you can talk about all you want about how great a player you are and you're doing this and you're making adjustments and you're feeling good. But nothing solves anything other than success. That's the bottom line. Success in that box.
2-2. Fouls it off, right? Because you can make all these changes. It can click for you in the cage. But ultimately, if it doesn't click from 7 to 10 each night, the confidence doesn't just happen.
Right. It's that old adage: is does the confidence breed success, or does the success breed confidence? And you know, the success breeds the confidence. And you've got to go out. You've got to do it on the field. You know, this isn't Little League where, attaboy, keep your head up. Way to swing it. Good job. That doesn't translate.
Checks his swing here. And, you know, the big thing that he did late last season was he flattened his swing some. He shortened up. And very clearly here, I think you can see he's choking up more than we've ever seen him do to begin an at-bat.
You know, it reminds me a lot of Anthony Rizzo with the Cubs, as far as, you know, the left-handed, you know, guys that choke up, but, you know, still not going to give up power.
Down swinging here, 2 gone in the second.
I mean, I am excited to watch Cody this year. I feel like he's going to have, you know, another great season like he's done in the past. You know, it's one of those things. Was he as great as he was the MVP year? No, he's not. I mean, that was a crazy year. And was he, you know, what he was last year? Of course not. He's going to be an excellent superstar player. That's what he is.
Dodgers looking for their first base runner of the afternoon, and here is Chris Taylor, who was one of the stars early on in the offseason, signing the long-term contract, come back with the Dodgers. But it got to the point, and you started to feel this more and more as you went on learning about Chris Taylor, watching him play. But with what he did in the postseason, it got to the point where he had to be a Dodger. Dodgers had to find a way to bring him back, and it was great to hear that it was mutual. That Chris Taylor said he never saw himself chasing more money to go somewhere else. He was happy in Dodger blue. Dodgers knew they had to have him, and they got him 4 years, $60 million, and a key piece to what they've become.
Well, he's so important in what the Dodgers want to do with this lineup, with this, you know, with this ball club, as far as you can give guys days off, you can move him around, and you're not missing a beat. It's not like you're putting in a utility guy. You're putting in an all-star player to give Trey Turner a day off, or an all-star player to give Cody Bellinger a day off, or Pollock, or whomever. And, you know, for me, his value for the Dodgers was much greater than a lot of other ball clubs. And he's earned every penny of it. He really has.
No, so much so that there probably would have been more money to be had somewhere else. There were other teams that were willing to pay him more, but he wasn't in the frame of mind to pinch pennies and go to the highest bidder.
Well, you know, there's something to be said about comfort, and there's something. You go back there was a player here in the Dodger organization years ago, Chan-Ho Park. Excellent pitcher, was great with the Dodgers, and then chased the free agency bug, and he went and signed with Texas. He got more money, but the career was never the same. And like I said, you can chase the dollars, and if it's significantly different or life-changing, I get it. But you can't put a price on, you know, just being comfortable and knowing your surroundings.
Taylor takes the walk, first base runner of the day for LA.
The second baseman batting seventh, number 9, Gavin Lux.
Keeps the second inning going for Gavin Lux, who, like Cody Bellinger, is trying to build off a good finish to last season and a good postseason. He was in AAA in late August last year, but he came back up in early September, played the outfield for the first time in his life, and hit .360 over the final few weeks while playing that new position, and did some encouraging things in the postseason as well. 1 ball, no strikes.
I mean, he's in an interesting situation for me as far as, you know, trying to establish himself as an everyday player and, you know, becoming the type of player that people expect. You know, he's having to do it with the Los Angeles Dodgers, and this is an organization that is going to compete for a World Series. It's not like you can do it in obscurity in Pittsburgh. And so that makes it tough as a young player. But the good thing is he's doing it for a team that's trying to compete for a World Series, in that you could just blend into this lineup, right? You don't even have, you just do your thing, because you can disappear with all the superstars. And he's just got to go out and, you know, just let it be. Go out and play.
On a 2-0 pitch, he takes a strike. Of course, the domino effect of Freddie Freeman becoming a Dodger is that moves Max Muncy to second base a lot of days, which makes what happened last year that much more important for Lux. His ability, proven, to at least give the outfield a shot. Wasn't always pretty, had its hurdles, but showed that he can do it, and with very little lead-up time to get ready for it.
So he could theoretically be the left-handed version of Chris Taylor, right? I mean, that's, and again, you just mentioned it, learning the outfield position at the big league level while you're trying to prove that you belong. I mean, that, you know, that takes a special sort of player.
And he started 5 games in the postseason in center field.
Right.
He started playing it a month and a half before. 2 balls and 2 strikes. 2 gone here in the second inning. Lux lines the ball to short. Backhanded Adames. And that's the inning. Dodgers get their first base runner, but nothing to show for it. And after 2, down 2-0.
Opening week, presented by Bank of America, begins at home on April 14th when the Dodgers host the Reds, followed by the Braves. Great promotions begin with Maury Wills and Will Smith bobbleheads, Jackie Robinson Day jersey, Friday night fireworks, and of course, Taco Tuesday. Visit Dodgers.com/promotions.
Bringing the heat with that one, baby.
Take that, man. I need that. Bam.
Woo. Killing it. Bo Burrows into the game for the Dodgers, making his Dodgers spring training debut. Drafted 22nd overall in 2015. And the reason I give you those particulars is because that is 2 picks before Walker Buehler. Detroit Tigers made him a first-round draft pick out of Weatherford High School in Texas. Reached the majors with the Tigers in 2020. Last season from the Tigers to the Twins. And now the Dodgers trying to unlock some of the things that made him a first-round pick years ago.
Well, that's one of the things that the organization is so good at doing is, you know, they may pick pieces of, you know, what this individual does well. Come in, you get the coaches on them, you get the analytics, you break down some guys, and bam, here they go, they flourish. And we've seen it a ton with the position players.
Here's a 1-1 to Willie Adames. Got it off the barrel, 1-2.
As we found too last year, you know, you can never have enough arms, right? I mean, remember going into the season last year, oh, the Dodgers, they've got too much starting pitching, right?
Seems like it's always like that. And yet every year we say the same thing. Wow, that's an embarrassment of riches.
Right.
But it always winds up being just right, especially last year with injuries the way they were across baseball. Well, there were 18 pitchers per team, EK, that saw time on the IL.
That's crazy. I mean, you wonder what's it going to look like this year with the abbreviated spring training.
Fastball paints the edge. 1 gone.
I mean, this game, it's a game of attrition. It really is. It's just a fastball up in the zone. No chance.
So Burrows strikes out Adames, first strikeout of a Brewers hitter today. And here is Christian Yelich. And what a great example this is of what you talk about the game humbling you quickly. It goes from being an MVP to neck and neck MVP candidate with Cody Bellinger in 2019 to the last 2 years. I mean, just a shell of himself.
You know what? And I'll go back to him fouling off a pitch off his leg, breaking his leg. Right? That was the end of was that the end of the 19 season? He and Bellinger were neck and neck. He's never been the same. And, you know, from a hitting standpoint, your lower half is your foundation.
Weak fly to Bellinger, 2 out.
And I'm not saying that, you know, he hasn't regained his strength or he doesn't. But what happens is, you know, when you first come back, you know, you're not feeling 100%. Your mechanics start to change. You favor things, and then you get out of whack. And I honestly believe that injury has put him, you know, where he's at now and what he's had to go through the last 2 seasons.
So he followed that injury, EK, the next year by starting 1 for 27, and that was the 60-game season.
Yep.
You start a 60-game season 1 for 27, you're already seeing the bad version of light at the end of the tunnel coming. Never was himself that year. And then the numbers were even worse in 2021. Here's Renfroe. Leg issue became a nagging back problem, and it has just kind of snowballed on Christian Yelich, who the Brewers have signed through 2029.
Right. Well, and that's the thing. It's, you know, the back problem now. Did that emanate because of the leg issues? I mean, that's the thing that just is so crazy. It's, you know, when somebody has an injury, a significant injury, you know, it's the domino effect. You know, how do they come back? Do they come back? What else ails them? You just hope that he can be the player that he once was.
Renfroe hooks that one off at the end of the barrel, flies it to left field, and A.J. Pollock makes the catch. Ends an 11-pitch, 1-2-3 inning for Bo Burrows.
Within. An unbreakable will to win drives our team and the city.
Absolute madness!
Our desire to be unstoppable starts here.
Go to the bottom of the third here in the first game of spring training. Brewers ahead of the Dodgers 2-0. This is somebody who you may recognize. Trevor Gott pitched for the San Francisco Giants for a couple of seasons, although last year was exclusively in AAA, and joins the Brewers here in 2022.
In 2019, he had a real special year for the Giants. 7-0. That's when wins mattered as a pitcher, right? No, that's
19,
when
did
they
still?
not just 4.5 ERA though in 19. Again, you know, this Brewers staff, especially when you start getting into the bullpen, you know, so darn deep. You know, you've got Hader closing and Williams with that changeup. They call it the side bender, or
the air bender.
Air bender. I was just testing you, see if you remembered. You're midseason form already.
Yeah. They got to face 8-9-1. Beatty, McKinstry, and back to the top and Trey Turner. First at bat of the spring for Beatty. Takes ball one from Gott. Come off a solid year quietly. Numbers wound up being pretty similar to his rookie season in 2019, which felt like a huge year because he didn't come with a ton of expectations. Career best average, career best on base percentage, a little cross up there, but a strike 101. And his strikeout rate was better than average again after those numbers went way up in 2020. So that 2020 season, thankfully for Beatty, looking like one that can kind of be tossed out as an anomaly, like it was for so many guys. You play full season, a lot of things are going to normalize, and a lot of his numbers seems like would have.
I mean, a very, very good player to have on your ball club because he can do so many things. But you just wonder, you know, how does he fit now with the Dodgers?
Bounced first. Hira's got it, and feeds Gott.
You've got Rios coming back after the shoulder injury. You know, the addition of Freeman. Got Muncy now that you're going to bounce around. So, you know, you're starting to get a little bit of left-handed heavy, right? It'll be interesting to see how this spring plays out, how the health of guys, you know, play out. If there are any more maneuvers, you know, we already heard today, Luke Raley gone.
Traded to Tampa Bay, and that's why McKinstry's in the lineup. This is supposed to be Raley, but minutes before first pitch, there was a lineup change. And so McKinstry gets the look. What a start he got off to last year, huh? He's hitting 300 in late April. Then he injured his oblique. He missed a month, and he just was never the same after coming back.
I mean, it's tough to come back from injury, and even tougher to do it during the season. You know, the game doesn't stop for you. You're trying to come back and trying to catch up, and you know, you don't usually have the timing. I mean, you can go on the minor league rehab stuff all you want. As you mentioned, such a great start.
Well, he was leading rookies in most categories through the first few weeks.
I mean, you talk about the tools when you evaluate a player, and you know, you're talking about the speed, the arm strength, the power, and I always felt like one of the most important tools, and it doesn't really get mentioned though, is durability and the ability to post and the ability to play every single day, because that is something that I'm not saying it gets taken for granted, but it's difficult to do.
Two gone. Back to the top of the order for Trey Turner. You talk about the mental toll that the game can take and how you've got to battle through that. if you're dealing with an injury too, even if you're quote unquote healthy, coming back from an injury, that's a whole nother layer that mentally you've got to deal with.
Well, and especially as a young player, when you're not established, you want to get back as soon as you can, but then on the flip side, you come back too early and you're not really ready, and then your performance, may become a reflection of how you're perceived as a player. I mean, you talk about this, it's, baseball, kids' game. At this level, it's a man's game on so many fronts. And most specifically on the mental part. God, how good an athlete is this guy, though?
It's fun to watch.
Jeez. I mean, I remember watching last year, getting excited watching his sliding highlights, right? Just how smooth they were. And I mean, who watches sliding highlights?
All of us when it's Trey Turner. None of us when it's anybody else. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Scott delivers, and Turner goes down swinging. Through 3 innings in Glendale. Dodgers down 2-0. April 10, 1962. Dodger Stadium opens for the first time. Since that historic opening day, fans have witnessed the greatest stars in the sport and moments that are forever embedded into their memory. As we celebrate the diamond anniversary of what many consider to be their sacred space, the team and their home continue to shine. We can't wait to see you. A couple of the guys headed back for the clubhouse. Max Muncy, Mookie Betts weren't in there today, but out in the dugout for the first few innings. Good chance they're in there for their spring debuts soon, as Muncy still works his way back from the elbow injury. Hopes to be ready for opening day. Definitely gets some help with opening day getting pushed back by about a week. Andrew Heaney joins those two, one of the newest Dodgers. Will Burrows goes back to the mound. Some impressive stuff in a 1-2-3 inning. His first one of the day, faces Keston Hiura and starts him with a strike.
Yeah, Burrows looks like he's got a pretty live arm right now, and he, I bet you the spin rate is relatively decent. He's throwing up in the zone. Look at that. So I'm going to say that. So that's got the curveball. So he's, the fastball is riding, keeping that up high. The curveball down low. So you're changing the eyesight, the elevation. I mean, he looks like he could be real effective.
There he is again, top of the zone with the fastball.
Well, he's certainly really effective on day one of spring training, because as a hitter, you're coming out facing this on day one. You're just going, oh boy.
Like, let me ease into this.
Well, you know what the thing about spring training, as a hitter, it felt like every year, the first 2 weeks, week and a half, 2 weeks, like this is a year that I'm not going to hit at all. It's just I'm just completely overmatched.
Is there some feeling when you come into spring training, like those first couple games, all right, please tell me I still got it?
Well, no, seriously, when I say that, I remember I used to have this conversation with the guy who played for the Houston Astros, first future Hall of Famer Jeff Bagwell. And we'd play each other again, at the beginning of spring training, and we'd always just joke like, man, this is a year it's just not coming together.
Pretty. 1 out.
And that's the thing. The pitching felt like the pitching was always way ahead of the hitting, just because as a hitter, you can do all you want in the offseason, but you can't mimic at bats. You just can't. You can't mimic whether it's the speed, whether it's just the I'm not going to say the fear, but the adrenaline rush of standing in. Hitting is hard. Baseball is hard.
Burrows has made it hard on these Brewers. 1 1/3, nothing doing against him. Curveball to start, Brasso for a strike. So let me ask you this. If there was the fear throughout your career showing up at spring training, oh my gosh, do I still have it? Was there a spring training towards the end of your career where you got there and said, oh my gosh, I don't?
No, the spring, it happened during the season, but it did not happen. It never happened in spring.
How'd you know when you got into it?
So I knew. I can tell you the at bat. I was with the Oakland A's. We're playing against the Angels. Rodriguez was on the K-Rod back in the day. It was his second or third season. I got up there, and there were 4 pitches. I didn't see any of them. Couldn't pull the trigger, and it was like fastball, fastball, curveball, curveball. And I didn't swing the bat, and I'm just turned around and I'm walking back. It was the first time that I was completely overwhelmed and overmatched at the plate. Now, I may have looked overmatched many times in my career, but that, like, I walked away and I'm, what am I even doing out here?
Did you find it again at any point after that?
Meaning finding.
Like over that, I imagine that was your last season.
That was my last season.
Okay.
Yeah, A's had seen enough. I was released a few months later.
Were there good moments that followed it, though? Or was it pretty much...
There were some decent moments that followed, but the point is, you know that you can't compete at a certain level. It's humbling. It really is. And sometimes it's tough to accept. But everybody deals with it.
Brasso swats this one to right. McKinstry there to put it away. 2 out. Well, you had a pretty good run, my man, before K-Rod carved you up and sent you to the golf course. 2 gone in a 2-0 game. Top 4, and up comes Corey Ray. It's going to be fun to have you along on the broadcast.
Yeah, I'm looking
year.
forward to it. You know, what an exciting team, too, right? That's the kickers. This isn't just, you know, some ball club that in June you're going, okay, I got 3 months left.
It's what you're saying is if the A's had called and asked you to join their TV crew, you would have
This
said,
year would have been a little tough. A little tough. I mean, you just think of it. We showed the picture a little earlier here in the telecast, and you showed Muncy and Betts walking down the line, right? So you look at this lineup that the Dodgers have today, and it's like, well, okay, it's pretty legit. There's no Betts, there's no Muncy, and there's no Freeman. Are you kidding me? Like, it's already a formidable lineup, and then you're going to throw those 3 guys in there?
You mentioned it
Like,
earlier,
seriously.
but a normal day for the lineup's going to have 8 former All-Stars plus Will Smith. It's going to have 8 guys that hit 20 home runs last year.
I mean, if you're a fan of this organization right now, I mean, you really got to tip your cap to ownership and to Andrew Friedman. I mean, you can talk about all you want about the players and how great they are, and trust me, I'm the first to run over the hill with the flag for the players. But the fact that, you know, I think Justin Turner even said it, it's whatever this group needs, ownership in the front office, they go out and get. Like, I can't think of a time in the last few years where they had a need and they didn't go out and address it. And when we're talking about going out and addressing it, we're talking about at the highest level. We're not talking about like, oh, we're going to go out and get, you know, some middle of the road outfielder. No, we're going to go out and get the best, Mookie Betts. Thank you very much.
Going to go trade for Trey Turner,
right?
And
like,
Max Scherzer.
Seriously, like,
go
what
get
is
Freddie
that?
Freeman. Yeah. Let's pop up on a bright day. Will Smith settles under it and ends the 4th. 6 up, 6 down for Bo Burrows, making a nice first impression, isn't he? Hey, where would you rather be? 2-0 game as we go to the bottom of the 4th inning in Glendale, Arizona. First of 19 spring games for the Dodgers to get ready for the regular season. Trying to get back on top in the division. Their 8 consecutive division title run ended last year by the incredible 2022 San Francisco Giant team that won 107 games. New pitcher for the Brewers is Miguel Sanchez. We were talking about this before the game as Justin Turner gets ready to lead off this 4th. Giants are going to be a fascinating team to watch because I think even the Giants would tell you they had no business winning 107 games last year. What does it look like this year?
I don't know that they can count on guys having the seasons that they did. And you're going to remember that Buster Posey is gone, and he had a huge year last year. Kevin Gausman gone.
And it's not to say they're not good. They're a good team.
They're a good team.
They're going to be a competitor. Exactly.
I mean, you know, look at it. If they're 85 to 90, I think that's an excellent season, right? But they've set a bar for themselves. Look, you can't discount.
Struck well on a line to center, but it is right at Ray.
You can't discount, you know, what Farhan does up there and his ability to assemble pieces. And it's one of those things where the sum of the pieces are going to be greater than those individual parts, right? And so while it may not look great right on paper, when you put them all together, and Gabe Kapler, I mean, he really grew into his own last year. Man, yeah, they're gonna be a problem. Let's put it that way.
Here's Will Smith, one gone in the 4th inning. It's this one in the air to left. And an easy play for Christian Yelich, assuming he can find it in the sun, and he does. Easy was probably an overstatement given how bright it seems to be today. 2 up and 2 down, and up comes Pollock. So you've got the Giants, who are going to be a fascinating case. How do they follow up a 107-win team? The Padres, always exciting these days, although they'll be without Fernando Tatis Jr., will miss the first few months with a broken wrist. Rockies had Chris Bryant. Diamondbacks coming off an awful season. So on the surface, it looks like 3 teams that will compete. And again, the Rockies and the Diamondbacks. And again, there's still plenty of free agents out there, but look to be the bottom of the pack.
Right. And, you know, you go to the Rockies, they've got some decent pitching, right? And you just never know how they're going to do. I mean, they lost, who's a kid that went to Texas, Gray?
John Gray.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Trevor Story won't be back
he
from
won't be
an offensive
back,
standpoint.
But, you know, you've got, you know, you're adding Chris Bryant, right? You've got Marquez is still there.
Rotation's good.
Yeah, the rotation is, it's sneaky good. It really is. So they're not going to be a pushover. I can't imagine that Arizona is going to struggle as much as they did last year. I mean, everything just went wrong.
Kind of the opposite angle that we're talking about with the Giants. Right? Nobody thinks the Giants are going to win 107 games again. Nobody thinks the Diamondbacks are going to lose 107, 110.
10, right?
Yeah. 3-0 on Pollock. Goes after it, and 3-1.
You know, but because of the, you know, added teams for the postseason, sure, you'd like to win your division, but you just want to get to the dance. So when you talk about San Diego, sure, they're not going to have Tatis for a while, but you figure he's going to be back when it matters most. You know, they did acquire Voit, you know, which you got to remember, he led the American League in home runs a few years ago, right?
In 2020, yeah. Pollock earns the walk, keeps his inning going. There was a time there for like a 1.5-year stretch. He led the American League in home runs from the time the Yankees acquired him for nothing from St. Louis Cardinals to the end of that 2020 season. And last year ravaged by injuries. But yeah, Padres are going to be good again. Giants, again, it's not to say they're not going to be good. They're going to be good again. And the Dodgers loading up for what they hope is another postseason run. Because they had the 106 wins last season. Despite this guy here not being anything like Cody Bellinger, even outside the MVP season, even anything close to what you expect from him, even if you toss that MVP season out. Betts was banged up for a lot of the year, wasn't himself. Didn't have Freddie Freeman. Granted, he had Corey Seager, but he missed half the regular season with an injury. And you only had 2 months of Trey Turner. So what becomes of that 106-win group that basically trades out Corey Seager for Freddie Freeman and gets Trey Turner for the whole year?
And you hope gets a very productive guy right here at the plate.
Down 0-2.
You know, that's one of the things, too, Freddie Freeman coming over here. You know, a lot of times when guys sign big deals, they change organizations. There's that pressure, and there's, you know, they're expected to carry the organization. He'll be able to just kind of fit right in. I mean, he doesn't even have to do anything. Just get acclimated, get comfortable, and go out and play.
On an 0-2 pitch, Bellinger fouls it back.
I think that, you know, we're talking about the division. I think just the whole National League is going to be fascinating because, you know, there are, you know, the Mets, what they've done, you know, they're going to be a pretty darn good ball club. I think this Brewers club, you know, and then when you start talking about what these teams can do in a short series, I mean, while I think the Dodgers are by far and away the most complete team, you get into a short series, and it's going to be a fun postseason.
Bellinger down swinging, and that ends the 4th. To the 5th we go in the opener spring training. 2-0 game in Glendale. Riders getting their bags, heading back to the clubhouse. Done for the day after 2 ABs in the first game of the spring. So we'll have some changes to report for you. As we get into this 5th inning, Joe Davis, Eric Karros, and Kirsten Watson back at Camelback Ranch, where the Brewers got 2 in the 3rd on a double from Mario Feliciano. Sam Gaviglio comes into the game to pitch for the Dodgers. Spent last season in AAA.
See a pretty good ratio there. 24 strikeouts, only 4 walks. Strike thrower.
That's what he does for the first one to the guy that drove in the 2 runs in the 3rd inning in Feliciano. One ball, 1 strike. I mentioned AAA for Gaviglio. A lot of that was with Texas, but then he went to the KBO to finish off last season. Opposite field base hit. Feliciano's 2 for 2.
KBO, that's a Korean baseball. Korean baseball organization.
Got it.
Swinging the bat all right today, huh? Shooting the ball to right. Had that big double earlier in the game to left center.
I'm going to tell Craig Counsell, hey, look, Skip, I know I only have 1 game in the big leagues, but you see me today, I think I'm good, huh? Showers locked in. There's Tyler White. White had an infield single his first time. Facing the Ashland, Oregon native, Sam Gaviglio. Former Oregon State Beaver, one of the great college programs. Quickly ahead 0-2. So parts of 4 seasons in the majors. Most of that with the Toronto Blue Jays. A little bit of time with the Mariners and with the Royals. When we talk about the Dodger roster and how it's obviously deep, and one way to look at it is, man, it's going to be tough to crack through with that group. The other way to look at it is the Dodgers cycle through guys, and there's a good chance that if you perform in AAA, you're going to get a shot at some point during the season with the big league club.
Well, it'll be interesting too, the way that the CBA now reads about bringing guys up and down, and you can only do it so many times. I believe it's 5 times during the course of the season.
White down, swinging.
And the Dodgers have been great at using their roster and being able to maximize bringing guys up and sending guys down. So you will have that luxury again, but there are some constraints. And, you know, the organization, I will say this, what's probably been most impressive over the last years, especially since this group's been running things, is when they bring guys up, they're ready. And they're ready to make an impact. It's not, well, let's ease them into things. They come up and they don't miss a beat at the big league level.
And you're right, that number, it is 5 is the limit for how many times a player can be optioned in a season now. Chase Peterson back at the top of the order, 0 for 2 today. Now, most of the rule, quote unquote, rule changes, or at least in-game rule changes, aren't going to be applied until next year that are coming out of the CBA, but some really intriguing ones that are going to get added. And we've talked about it, Oral and I have talked about it as the single biggest thing that could be done to address a lot of what feels like needs changing in baseball is the pitch clock. 15-second pitch clock, where for a month everybody's going to hate it and say that it's a nuisance and baseball shouldn't have a clock. after a month, I don't think you're even going to realize that it's there. You're just going to feel what it does for the game. You're going to feel the benefits that it gives to the snappiness of the game. It's a fly out to left and 2 gone. That comes in 2023 along with larger bases, a couple things there, player safety, and maybe incremental increase in the running game, encouraging people to run with a incrementally shorter distance.
I think that too, when you're talking about the bases, does that possibly impact what replay has done, where the intention wasn't to, oh, the guy came off the base just a little bit, or he, with a slide, or, that wasn't really the intent of replay, but it's one of the things that, okay, now maybe with a bigger base, maybe with a little higher base, I don't, maybe that impacts things. The pitch clock is interesting for me because, there are guys that I guess you're just saying you've got to change the way you approach things, and you've got to change the way you prepare to make a pitch. I do know that at the collegiate level, I go to games and there's a 20-second pitch clock, and it's very effective.
That is ripped to third, knocked down by Vargas. Ricochets to Alvarez, whose throw's not in time to get Adames. I think you mentioned the good thing is that at this point, a lot of guys are going to have played with a pitch clock in the minors. Right. So, there'll be a large chunk of the league that'll be getting used to it, but there'll also be, by now and by next season, a huge group of players that has at least experienced it
right
at the minor league level.
What do you think about, I hear there is talk that they may bring back the runner at second base during the extra innings. I mean, that was originally, oh, we're not doing that, and now discussion again.
Felt gimmicky at first, right? Felt gimmicky, but like it had a purpose as Yelich takes a strike. Shortened 2020 season, it made sense. 2021 coming off of that shortened season, made sense still. Really interesting, I think, that they're talking about bringing it back in 22. I'm not necessarily a fan of it, but
so why? Like, what's your?
It just feels gimmicky. But
right.
That's, I mean, to say that they shouldn't do it because they never have, that's the worst
that's
way of reasoning.
Right?
So, how about you? Where are you at on it?
I actually like it. I like it from a strategy standpoint, and it gets you thinking, and there's so many different ways to go about it. As far as, are you going to bunt that guy over? Are you just going to swing? Are you going to go with the, the percentages that say you score more with, just letting them swing? All these sorts of things.
Yelich off the end of the bat into right center field. That'll dunk in for a base hit and bring home Feliciano to make it 3-0.
I'll say this, just in baseball in general, you see Yelich go after this pitch. This pitch isn't that bad of a pitch. I mean, it's probably even out of the strike zone, but Yelich able to reach out and flip it out there. I like to see urgency. I love urgency. And that's why I like that. That's why I even like the double headers. I like the 7-inning doubleheader because, that first at bat, that matters. That matters,
Well, you reached the late game tension a lot earlier.
Right,
when
right.
The game to 7 innings. Here's Renfroe with 2 on and 2 out.
The baseball purists are probably going like, oh, jeez.
There's no doubt there.
Tell Karros to be quiet.
There's no doubt. That's a strike on Renfroe. And then the other one that we haven't mentioned might be the most significant, and that is the banning of the shift.
Right. So I'm all for that, too. Right. I just, I think it's, somehow maybe, okay, you 2 guys on one side of the base, second base, and 2 guys on the other, and you can do whatever you want to do, I guess. But yeah, I just feel like that is, when you talk about gimmicky, that feels gimmicky to me, right? Let's, it's like I could go down to the rec center and see the same defensive configuration in the over 50 softball league. Right.
But you do like it. You do like the idea of
getting rid of it.
Yeah.
That's what I like. Yeah. Out with a shift.
Gaviglio ahead of Renfroe. No balls, 2 strikes. And time is called.
I mean, I get it. I get why you do it, but I don't. From an entertainment value,
You get why you put the shift on. You're saying, of course.
100%. And I know if I was hitting, dude, if I hit a ball up the middle, that's a base hit, my man. I don't need somebody standing out there. If I were a left-handed hitter, I hit a line drive to right field, that's a base hit. I don't need somebody. I need Gavin Lux out there catching the ball in shallow right center.
And then from a fan's perspective, we our entire lives have watched the game from the TV angle. That ball hit up the middle produces a feeling of yes, and we've had to rewire ourselves to say that's probably not through. And then the times where it does go through, it's like, oh, there's nobody there.
That's a great point.
2-2. You know, all these rules, though, really pulling in the same direction, and that is less downtime, more action.
Right.
More balls in play, less standing around, and it's not trying to change baseball. It's trying to take the game that we all love and address some things that aren't the most appealing and exciting things about it right now.
Well, and maybe all these years, you know, maybe back in the 40s and the 50s, the game wasn't being played as efficiently as it should have been, but it was played a certain way. You know, okay, we're going to hit and run, we're going to bunt guys over, there's more action and this and that. And I think that, you know, as time and data and the way we look at the game, it is a more efficient game, but it may not be as entertaining. Except, you know, Chicks dig the long ball, right?
Chicks almost dug that one.
That was foul.
Chicks don't dig foul balls, so have to straighten that one out. Yeah, last year the league hit 244, which is the lowest average since what is known as the year of the pitcher in 1968, when they.
That was a high mound, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Well, it was
Allegedly.
169 got around, and they lowered it and altered the strike zone to address it. Full count, good take by Renfroe. But these conversations have been going on throughout the game's history. It's been an evolution and a seesaw back and forth in the battle between run prevention and run scoring.
Yep.
Here's a 3-2. Renfroe swings and misses. And that does it for Gaviglio's first inning of Dodgers spring training. It's a 3-0 game as we're halfway home in Glendale.
Be at Dodger Stadium on April 15th when the Dodgers host the Reds. The first 40,000 fans will receive a Jackie Robinson jersey commemorating the 75th anniversary of him becoming the first African-American to play in the major leagues. Brought to you by UCLA Health. Bruins won last night, by the way. For tickets, visit Dodgers.com/promotions.
It's one of the more special days of the schedule there. April 15th, Jackie Robinson Day. It'll be a Friday night at Dodger Stadium this year with the Cincinnati Reds in town for the home opening series. This is Luke Barker, who had a good season last year at AAA. As a 29-year-old now makes his spring debut. So the Bruins eke it out.
They won.
Yeah,
they won.
Barely.
They were the winner.
USC
Either
just
win or
went
you don't.
final and lost. 68-66. Turned it over 75 times. Chris Taylor leads off the fifth and fouls off Barker's first pitch. Taylor walked his first time. Dodgers still looking for their first base hit of this spring opener. Taylor's got a walk. Pollock has a walk. Looks like the plan for Dave Roberts today is to get the starters 2 at-bats. One ball, 1 strike.
Again, talking about the Dodgers starters, position player wise, and getting at bats. You just up there, you're trying to see pitches. You're not trying to go up there and at least your first few ABs and trying to kill the ball.
That's a fair ball, and the first hit of the day belongs to Chris Taylor, a roller of a double. He's been on both times.
Not how hard you hit it, right? Rolls this thing down the line. I'm going to save those for the season.
I've heard Nomar say before that his favorite spring training at-bat outcome is a bullet of a line out the other way. Line out.
Out, yeah.
Because you're keeping the hits in the system, but you know you're right where you want to be.
And you don't have to run the bases. Go right back to the dugout.
That's that too. Leadoff man on for Lux, who leaves it up there.
You know, it's interesting because as a young player, though, you want results in spring training. You want, you know, look, I want to roll out a spring hitting 450. No question, I made the team. You know, and as a veteran guy, you could care less about the numbers. You just want to feel like I'm comfortable at the plate. I'm seeing the ball well. And you mentioned, as Nomar said, you don't want to waste anything down in spring.
Brant Brown and Aaron Bates over there, a couple of the Dodger hitting coaches. Lux grounds on to first. Backhand Hira. Up to third goes Taylor, one away.
I don't remember Brownie. Did he have a beard like that at the end of the year? Like that's pretty flush right there.
Really strong.
Yeah.
You were rocking something. Picture the other day.
Oh, that was a stash.
Stash with
a mustache, a mustache.
There's
Brownie. That's the neck right there. That looks the same as last year.
It does.
But trust us, there we go. Look at that thing. And Skoik, I mean,
thick.
Yeah, these guys aren't messing around. Look at it, Brownie. Brownie gonna have to put some beads in that thing.
Look at it.
Look at that.
Can you imagine?
What do they say? One bird away from a nest. Brownie's gonna be mad at me.
There's Matt Beatty taking a ball.
I'll tell you what, those guys do a great job though with the offense, and you know, having suggestions for guys and showing them, you know, whether it's data that, you know, may lead you to do certain things or make certain adjustments or go after certain pitches.
Taylor not going to bother there. It's a different job, right? It's a different role than when you were playing.
So when I was playing, it was more psychological, right? You know, you spend time down in the cage, you make some adjustments, you go out on the field and hit, and you know, the hitting coach will say, "Oh, that great job, way to swing it." You just feel good about yourself. Nowadays, I mean, that still applies, but these guys, you know, they're almost like investigators, and they're going to come to you with that and say, "Look, you're most successful when you go after this pitch in the zone, and when you are in attack mode in these counts," and they can show you the proof. It's not just them thinking that or saying that. And so then that allows you to have a plan when you're facing certain pitchers and going after certain pitches.
Beatty slices a line drive to left center field. Dahl moves over, battles the sun, makes the catch. That'll bring home Chris Taylor for the first run of the spring for the Dodgers. A sacrifice fly from Matt Beatty, and it's a 3-1 game.
But getting back to those guys, you know, whether it's Robert Van Scoyoc or Brownie or Aaron Bates, I mean, they've got a lot on their plate. They really do. And, you know, you've got to kind of individualize, you know, how you deal with, you know, each one of these guys on the roster, because not everybody's the same. Not everybody receives things the same. I mean, and they really have. They've done an exceptional job.
2 out was Zach McKinstry up there. And the Dodgers, as they've done with a lot of things in the game, trailblazing in the way they construct the hitting coach position, because now just about everybody has multiple hitting coaches, more of a hitting staff as opposed to one guy. And the Dodgers are one of the first crews to bring in somebody without much of a playing career like Robert Van Scoyoc. You see more and more places doing that. The Brewers would be an example of that. They just brought in a couple new hitting coaches this year. You mentioned the offense has not been good in Milwaukee, really the thing holding them back the last couple of years. Well, they went out and got Ozzie Timmons, who was a first base coach and an assistant hitting coach in Tampa Bay. And then they got Connor Dawson, who didn't have any kind of playing career to speak of. He's in his late 20s. And his highest post has been a minor league hitting coordinator in the Mariners organization. So it's not the baseball card. What did you do?
Right.
It's part of it still. You see some, but there's a whole lot more that they look for when they're putting together these hitting coach staffs.
I think it's interesting you say that, because what the baseball card does is that usually commands instant respect, right? And whether that's deserved or not, it's, okay, this guy did this, so I'm going to listen to him. Whereas some of these other guys, they earn the respect by the way they communicate, by the way they teach, by what they offer. And, you know, the big league guys nowadays, I think, are a lot more receptive to anybody that is offering, you know, information. It's not just, well, dude, you didn't hit 300 in the big leagues. Why am I listening to you?
Here's Eddie Alvarez.
I mean, the reality is, you know, you don't have to hit in the big leagues to understand and be able to teach hitting.
Alvarez smokes this one back up the middle. Barker will track it down but have no play, and you hope that he's okay. The ball is absolutely pummeled by Alvarez. Oof. And the training staff going to come out and take a look. Oh, every hitting coach without a playing background that succeeds, it becomes a little bit easier for the next one without a playing background to get that instant credibility. And I think it's more widely accepted at this point, much more than it was a few years ago.
No question, right? I mean, you could probably make a pretty good argument that, you know, the best hitting coaches were probably the least successful hitters.
Mm-hmm.
I should say at the big league level, right? It just, you know.
There's the former Rocky, Tony Walters.
This guy's super athletic as well, right?
Former infielder. Terry Francona and the Indians converted him to catcher. He pounces on the first pitch, pulls it down the line, just foul. Same thing with pitching coaches, too. We're seeing pitching coaches across baseball and pitching coach staffs where you may have the former player, but you probably also have the guy who can speak the analytical language, can bring that information, bring that data that, not saying the former player doesn't, but that the former player may not specialize in the way that this role does.
Right. It's one thing to use the data, but it's another thing to be able to understand it, to communicate it, and to communicate it properly, right? You can you get somebody up there and they say, oh, the spin rate this, the spin rate that. Well, that spin rate has nothing to do with nothing. Like you have to take that like 4 steps deeper. You know, you have to talk about efficiency. You have to, I mean, but when you talk about analytics now and how it impacts the game, and what it does is it allows people to be more efficient. It allows pitching coaches to be more efficient. Hitting coaches, allows the players to be more productive.
Two and two on Walters with 2 on and 2 out here in the 5th. I think it's part of what makes Mark Pryor a unicorn, in that he was all those things as a former player. First overall pick, you know, college All-American, next big thing in the majors, broken veteran. He's been all those things, but he also speaks the modern baseball analytical language as well as anybody.
Yeah, really as good as there is. You know, he was a teammate of mine in 2003 with the Cubs.
That next big thing stage.
Yeah, I mean, he arguably, you know, I'd say he was one of the top 5 pitchers in the game that year. And then just as, you know, years went on, he had some just weird injuries, crazy injuries, right? You know, whether it was running the bases. And, yeah, I remember in 03 with us, he was running the bases and got flipped by the second baseman for the Braves, landed on his shoulder.
Walters tomahawks a one hopper to second. Matthias grabs it and throws him out. Ends this fifth.
I'm down here next to the dugout with Chris Taylor. And Chris, I mean, look, right before the lockout, you signed your deal with the Dodgers to come back. How good does it feel to be back in front of all these fans?
Yeah, I think we were all on the edge of our seats. You know, I think everybody was kind of itching to get back to it, and we were hoping something would get done. And, you know, I'm just relieved we were able to work out a deal, and we're going to have a full 162, and now we're playing baseball again.
You got a couple at-bats today. I mean, how does it just feel kind of being back out there at the plate? How are things going for you with your progression?
Pretty good. You know, I feel like I'm in a good spot for, you know, having first 5-6 at-bats, you know, in practice and now in the game. You know, at this point, I think everybody's just kind of trying to feel it out, get their timing down, swing at strikes, and but yeah, so far I feel pretty good.
Freddie Freeman walked into the clubhouse today, full suit. What did you think about it?
Yeah, classy move. I think he's got to dress like that the rest of the year now.
Yeah, that's the expectation. He set the tone. It's got to be full suit every single day. All right, Chris. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
All right, thank you.
Let's get back to you guys.
Thank you very much. Chris Taylor having a nice day so far. Yeah, it's funny. Freddie Freeman in the suit in Arizona, setting the tone. Keston here just shooting it into the stands. There you see Chris Taylor wrapping up a good first day.
So 1-2 to Hira, and it hit him.
Don't like that. Never like seeing a guy get hit in the hand or the wrist.
In spring training games, the ceiling of what can happen in a given day is not that high. The floor is so low.
Man, right?
You just cringe anytime you see a moment like this.
Remember a few years ago with Justin Turner, right?
Kendall Graveman.
Yeah. You don't remember that, do you?
No, just Googled real fast. So good to see here a smile. That's Jake Lamb now playing first base for the Dodgers over there. You may remember him as the former Arizona Diamondback.
He was an all-star, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Did he hit 30? I mean, he was close. He had a nice power year. Left-handed bat.
Yeah, he was an all-star in 2017. Had 29 homers in 16. Had 30 in that all-star season. Last year split between the White Sox and the Blue Jays. That's a shot up the middle and through. There's one of those where you at least half expect there's going to be a fielder waiting on it.
Right?
Like
No, seriously,
you're
it's like
rewired to now expect it.
I don't remember, but do you do shifts early on in spring? I mean, are you just trying to get your feet wet and then you start? Well, it's a little bit of a shift there. It's
shift-ish,
not yeah,
right?
shift-ish.
That's illegal.
That's a legal one, yeah, right?
Legal
that's
shift. That's a good question, though. I'm picturing,
I'm trying to think.
Bellinger coming up there. Do they have a bunch of dudes standing
already?
in right field?
Yeah.
Here's Corey Ray, 0 for 2 in his first game of the spring.
You know, I'd figure this year it might be different just because guys have only been in camp for 3 or 4 days. And so are you really going to be spending time those first 3 or 4 days going over shift defenses? And, if you've got some new guys learning in time, I bet you as we do games this spring, obviously it'll be more prevalent.
Viglio just misses with that changeup. It's 2-0 on Ray. 19-game spring schedule. And then opening day coming up, 3 weeks from today. Dodgers will be in Denver taking on the Rockies. Cue shot foul. Season was supposed to begin against the Rockies, but at home. And the way that it's going to work is that first week of games, which was lost because of the stoppage, the first series gets dropped to the back end of the schedule, Monday through Wednesday, after what was originally game 162. The other 3 will be made up in doubleheaders throughout the year. Now, in taking that first series for the Dodgers against the Rockies and putting it at the end of the year, the Dodgers now are going to finish the regular season with a 6-game series at home against Colorado.
Wow.
Because they were supposed to finish.
I don't know though if I like that, right? Because you kind of feel like they're going to be out of it, Colorado.
Yep.
And you just hope the Dodgers have a big enough lead.
Popped into shallow center field. Pages coming on to catch it. The runners stay put. Yeah, I mean, not everybody's going to have that set up where you're playing one team six times,
just right?
And you just oddity in the Dodgers schedule.
Well, and again, Colorado is that team that they have some weapons, right? Marquez, you're gonna have to. You may face Marquez twice in the last 6 games.
Right.
Like that's not fun.
No. Senzatella quietly became their best guys last year. Went on.
Was it Freeland? I mean, he started throwing well again, right?
He's had his moments. Yeah.
I mean. So what are they? You said those other games will be parts of double headers, and we're back to the 9-inning double headers.
Yep. So a few of them against Arizona sprinkled throughout the year. This is Mario Feliciano, who's been the star today, 2 for 2. Drove in a pair with a double and came in to score after a single. But what seemed unlikely not too long ago is going to happen. That is 162 games.
Right?
Not only unlikely, was announced that it wasn't happening.
Right?
Ground ball to third. Nice backhand play by Vargas. They get the out at second and in time at first for a double play. Well done. Vargas to Burns and over to first for a double play to finish off the inning.
Anniversary of Dodger Stadium with your friends and family this season and catch rivalry matchups and great promotions featuring bobbleheads, Friday night fireworks, Taco Tuesdays, and more. Visit Dodgers.com/promotions.
You know, I've heard you do, I think, like 5 or 6 promos now, and there's nothing that you read with more gusto than the Taco Tuesday part.
Well, they told me if I emphasize that, I could possibly get one of those catered at my house.
Wow.
That's what Mike Levy told me that. Yeah.
Well, Mike Levy, our wonderful producer, fearless leader, says.
That's great. I'm glad he's going to make that happen.
Taco Tuesday over at the Caros residence. Moises Gomez comes on to pitch for Milwaukee. In a 3-1 game here in the bottom of the 6th. Joe Davis, Eric Karros, Kirsten Watson. First of 19 games this spring for the Dodgers. That is ball 1. Jason Martin up there for the Dodgers as they continue to cycle through players in this opener. Martin some time in the major leagues with the Texas Rangers. Slices a fly ball the other way. That's pretty well hit. Back it goes and gone. Jason Martin with an opposite field home run. What a start to his spring. It's a 3-2 game.
Super exciting as a young player. This ball out over the plate, fires this opposite barrel, goes to left center. That's what I said, as a young guy, as a non-established player, you know, you're always up there, man. This is the 7th game of the World Series. You're not trying to ease into things or taking pitches to see how the ball's moving. You're up there to produce.
Well, especially when you're in your first game with your new organization.
Right?
Spent last season with the Texas Rangers. And hit 6 home runs for the big league club. But in his first at-bat here in Dodgers spring training, hits the first home run of the spring for him. This is Miguel Vargas, highly regarded prospect, taking a ball, and it's 3-0. Vargas last season split between high A and double A. Had a monster year. Hit 320, 23 home runs. He's got a walk here. So tying run aboard for the Dodgers with nobody out in the 6th. Did those things at a much younger age than a lot of the guys he was playing with. Just turned 22 years old after the completion of last season. And to do those things as a 21-year-old at double A, you don't often see that. Andy Pages. Fouls off first pitch breaker. Now these back-to-back, two of the guys that had a couple of the best seasons of any Dodger minor leaguers last year. Pages, at the age of 20, hit 31 home runs for Great Lakes. That's high A in the Dodger system.
I mean, he just looks like a hitter. Just, I mean, just missed it.
And the air to left for the first out.
Well, that's the thing. You look at the Dodger lineup at the big league level, and you've got all-stars littered all throughout. Then you look at the minor leaguers, and these guys, a lot of them, you know, they're knocking on the door with L.A., but they'd be on the cusp of playing in the big leagues with a lot of different organizations. You know, it's one of the things that I've always said, especially as of late, about being in the Dodger organization as a young player. You know, it's great from a developmental standpoint because you are going to be the best version of yourself because of the technology, because of the coaching, all those sorts of things. But on the flip side, while you're going to be the best version of yourself, so are the other 120 guys that you're competing with in the minor leagues.
Yeah.
It just, you know, so difficult to chase that dream of being a big league ball player.
This is Stephan Romero, who chased that dream and realized that dream. It's been a long time, though, since he's played in the majors. He reached the majors in 2014 with Seattle and spent parts of 3 seasons there, but hasn't played in the major league since 2016. 33-year-old pops this one down the line, fading into foul ground, and he'll get another opportunity. So he spent the last 5 years in Japan. And signed with the Dodgers last month. But did some really good things over there. And then trying to make it back to the major leagues for the first time in 6 years.
You know, that's what's so tough. You get that quote unquote cup of coffee and you just, it's addictive. You're chasing it forever. And whether it's going back down to the minor leagues and riding buses and going through that type of schedule, you know, you're just trying to, if I could just get back, or now you go overseas, or as you mentioned, you know, he played in Japan, and I forget who was the other guy we had talked about earlier, was in the Korean baseball organization. But the point is, it's like you go because you hope that road leads back to the big leagues.
And you said it right. It's not just how amazing it is to play in the big stadiums for the big league club, but the little things too that you taste at the big league level that make life away from the field or away from on the field so much better. Once you get that taste,
hey, you're chasing it. You want it. You want it to be, you know, a daily part of your life.
The food tastes better. The water quenches your thirst better. The pillows are softer in the hotel.
You know, there's no question that it's for those that are fortunate enough and lucky enough to play and make a career of it. And I say lucky, not as, oh, this guy just got lucky, blah, blah, blah. The lucky is you have to be in the right place at the right time. You have to be healthy. You have to produce. You have to get an opportunity. All those sorts of things have to line up.
Romero takes a walk here.
And it's a road, and there's, you know, I'd argue not only, you know, you've got to be talented, but you've got to have some sort of mental disposition to chase, you know, to chase the big league dream, and, you know, to continue to be resilient enough to keep getting back up and going after it.
Well, this is Gomez, who is in his first outing in the Brewers system. Previously with the Twins and the Mariners in their minor league system. Reached as high as AAA at the end of last year. Now facing Jake Lamb, who we were talking about when he was on defense last inning. Former National League All-Star. Taking ball one from Gomez. 29 home runs when he was a 25-year-old for Arizona. Had 30 the next year.
Well, that's what I'm talking about. You know, this game, it's so darn difficult. It's so, you know, if you're Lamb, it's okay. I'm 29. I'm 30 home runs. I've got this thing figured out, and then it spirals, and it spirals the wrong way.
Yeah, even last year, 7 home runs in limited time between Toronto and the White Sox. That power is still in there.
Again, the power's there. You know, you come to an organization like the Dodgers, and you just hope that he can be the next Muncy, right, or the next Taylor, or the next, you know, guys that come to the organization, or even, you know, Justin Turner, right, that you know can play, but just for some reason it just hasn't quite clicked yet, and you know it does here.
Behind 1 ball, 2 strikes. Runners at first and second and 1 gone. He fouls it off with a big rip. So he had that huge All-Star 2017 EK, and then in 2018, actually against the Dodgers, 4th game of the year, injured his shoulder, trying to make a diving play, and just really has not been the same guy since. He had 59 home runs in a 2-year span. Seems like he's one of the bright young players in the game. Then that injury at the beginning of 2018, and he's kind of been chasing that feeling of 16 and 17 all the years since.
Did he come back in 18 at some point?
He did, and just wasn't the same.
And so that's what, you know, we talked a little earlier. You know, it's tough to come back from injury. It's even tougher to come back from injury during the season. That is, I mean, there's so many variables.
So he wound up shutting that season down to have surgery as he lines this ball into center field, and it's run down with a nice play in center. So he comes back, but ultimately has surgery, and then the next year he's saying, okay, shoulder's better, ready to get back to where I was before the injury. But then he injures his quad in the 5th game of the year. Shoulder in the 4th game in 18, quad in the 5th game in 19. That opened the door for Christian Walker, who
he
took the job and ran with it after Paul Goldschmidt was sent to St. Louis. And he's been bouncing around since then, trying to find his next opportunity. Here's somebody Dodger fans got to learn a little bit about last year, and Andy Burns. Big rip and a miss, strike 1. In his major league debut, or his Dodger debut, at least. He played in a handful of games with Toronto years ago. It's really just one example after another of a guy who made it and then went away and came back. His debut was in 16. Talking about Burns now. Then he went to Korea, got a lot better. Came back to the U.S. to spend the 2020 season with Toronto, but it was all at the alternate site. And then signed with the Dodgers last year and made it to the majors for the first time in 5 years. Take strike 3, and that'll do it for Burns and the Dodgers in the 6th. They get one back and the home run, and it's 3-2. Friday in Glendale, Arizona, as Brusdar Graterol comes in to pitch the 7th. Kirsten Watson a moment ago caught up with Clayton Kershaw.
Clayton, just first off, how was it just to be back on the mound in front of all the fans out there today?
It's good to be back. Good to get the first one out of the way, and yeah, it was a good time.
21 pitches, 1 walk. How would you rate how it went?
I mean, it wasn't great, honestly, but you know, the first one, make sure everything's working right, you feel good, kind of get the adrenaline of a fan base as best you can, and you know, now I know what I can work on, and it's a good stepping stone.
So just with that stepping stone, what's next? What's kind of the focus?
Just continue to build up the pitch count, and you know, I don't know exactly what's going to happen, but probably start on the 5-day plan now and get ready for the season.
What went into the decision to pitch today? It's like I think originally they said Burrows was going to start this game, and Dave said you guys kind of decided that this would work for you.
Yeah, I think it's just because it would work for me. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah.
Are you a little bit ahead of where you maybe thought you would be at this point in camp? Or?
I don't know. I feel like I'm in. I mean, I don't think I really had expectations, honestly. But you know, health was the most important thing for me, and you know, I feel like I'm in a decent spot.
I know it's been hard for everyone to get stretched out with the short spring training, but do you feel like this puts you in a good place to start for opening day? Or?
I don't know. I mean, yeah. I mean, I'm going to do the best I can, and I mean, doing the math. I mean, it's going to be tough to get to 100 and some pitches, but you never know. Maybe, yeah.
All right, so Clayton Kershaw reacts to his spring debut, and now we get to watch the spring debut of Brewstar Gratterall. Still just 23 years old. A hard-throwing right-hander out of Venezuela, who touched 100 miles per hour more often than all but Jacob deGrom and Jose Alvarado with the Phillies in 2021. Looks like he came in great shape. He gets ready for his 4th year with Major League time. Runs this one inside of Matthias.
Hey, it's my first spring training game. I'm facing Gratterall. He's throwing about 100, and I might wear one. That's just,
that's an early
I
stay
used to
hot.
just hate that, right? Stay hot.
Gets in on him, rolled the first, and Lamb can't get it cleanly, and so a runner the board for the Brewers with 1 gone here.
Tough play for Lamb. He's covering a lot of ground over there. He probably, you see a second baseman move. So he's there, just not staying down. Maybe backhand that thing. Again, first day, first game, ball off the bat.
Runner at first, 1 gone. Bryce Turang. Gratterall comes home and induces a soft bouncing ball back to him. Low throw to second, picked nicely, and over to first, not in time. So they get the lead man as Gratterall feeds Alvarez. 2 gone in the 7th inning with the Brewers in front 3-2.
Yeah, you weren't getting Turang. He can run a little bit. Southern California native. This ball just kind of handcuffs him over its short. I mean, that thing just had some ride to it. The Turang was a high pick a few years ago. Can really run.
That's one of the many great benefits of living in Southern California is just about every team that comes through to play the Dodgers, several guys who have Southern California roots, and you can think back to watching them come up through the area, through the high schools, through the local programs. David Dahl stands in here with 2 gone. Seems like every series there's a mini cheering section of friends and family for the other team.
Yep.
Dahl, the longtime Rocky.
Yeah, when he was an all-star a few years ago, it looked like he was really on the cusp of it. You know, and then he had God, did he have thoracic outlet or I mean, it was some kind of crazy or some.
He had a stress fracture in his ribs.
Okay. Yep.
In spring training, and then as he tried to come back from that, his back started to flare up. He had a broken foot at one point. Just a really horrible injury history for a guy who was the 10th overall pick a decade ago now.
Yep.
Out of high school in Alabama. So that draft, Carlos Correa was 1st overall. Corey Seager was 18th, and this man here, David Dahl, was right in the middle as the 10th overall pick of the Rockies, and reached some of that potential when he was an All-Star in 2019. Kind of a similar story to Jake Lamb, though. You know, reaches those expectations early on, becomes an All-Star,
Right.
but then deals with the bad injury luck.
Well, that's what they always say. It's, you know, getting to the big leagues is difficult, but the trick is staying. Again, we talked earlier about, you know, and I was mentioning the, you know, how you measure a player, and it's the tools part, you know, the power, the running, the throw, all that sort of stuff. But again, there is something to be said about durability, staying injury free.
He's down on a high fastball, and 98 from Brusdar Graterol, just getting warmed up as he gets into his spring. Stretch time in Phoenix. Bottom of the 7th inning of the spring training opener, and moments ago, Kirsten and the media caught up with Justin Turner.
Justin, I mean, first game of spring training, how'd it feel to be back out there?
Yeah, it's just good to be on the field, see the fans, the kids out in the stands, and, you know, get a couple ABs in and come out of it feeling good.
With those at-bats, I mean, is that kind of just the right step with your progression and getting your rhythm and timing and stuff on track?
Yeah, that's what spring training is all about. It's just getting good feels, getting your timing down, and making sure everything's that you're working on the backfields is feeling good in the game setting. So.
We heard of a call at Mookie's wedding that you, Andrew, and Dave had with the new first baseman. How did that call kind of come about? What was kind of that conversation like?
Well, to be honest, Freddie didn't answer, so I don't know if he told the whole story there, but it was a little late for him with the kids. So, but I did talk to him the next day, and no, just saying, hey, we'd love to have you. So
He said that your name came up on his phone a lot this winter. I mean, how much was that sort of consistent part of your winter, just trying to recruit him over here?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, maybe it felt like a lot to him compared to some of the phone calls he was getting. But no, just reaching out to him and telling him how good he'd look in Dodger blue and how fun it would be to play together on the same team. We played against each other for a long time, so.
He said he enjoyed that you guys razzed him when he came in with the suit.
Yeah, you know, obviously it's a big day for him. He wanted to be here and look really good for his press conference, and a chance for him and his family to really enjoy it and hopefully get some photographs that'll be up in the house for a long time.
You guys have had a lot of big players come in here the last couple of years. Like, how easy is it to bring in new guys, especially ones like him who, you know, have had long careers and are pretty distinguished?
Yeah, I think you know, this is a pretty easy clubhouse to come into. You know, a lot of guys that are professional about the way they go about their business, and a lot of guys that, you know, have a lot of big time accolades in here. So he'll fit right in.
For a long time, but it's being like a recruiter, something you kind of enjoyed. Like, how do you kind of go about doing stuff like that?
I don't know if I was. You know, I knew he was coming up on free agency last year. I was joking with him when we were playing him during the season, and maybe a little bit in the postseason about how nice he'd be in a Dodger uniform. But no, I just wanted to let him know that obviously I'm sure every team would be pretty welcoming to him, but we would do the same.
All right, good to hear from Justin Turner after his first game of the spring. It's a 3-2 game, bottom of the 7th inning. Eddie Alvarez, the hitter, singled his first time up. On the mound here for the Brewers is Scott Alexander's brother, Jason Alexander, who has made an improbable journey here to the doorstep of reaching the major leagues. This is a guy who pitched for Long Beach State for a handful of games after starting his career at the junior college level, but then his elbow blew out. Came back from that, but again at the junior college level, and figured that he was done playing. He's going to get into coaching, and then just kind of out of the blue started to get some feelers, some opportunities to maybe keep playing, maybe pitch professionally. He said, why not give it a try? That was in 2017, and he's steadily, quietly, slowly climbed the ladder. And here he is in the Brewers organization for the first time, but reached as high as AAA the last couple of years.
Well, you talk about perseverance, right? And, you know, looked like things were done before he could even start his professional career, but just keep chasing the dream.
Sits down Alvarez, 2 up and 2 down in the 7th.
You know, that's the thing. Again, when we were talking about the mentality of baseball players, you see that ball just runs back over the plate. I mean, you've got to have some sort of resilience, and whether that's even if you're a superstar and you're going through struggles, or you're Mike Trout, you're going through injuries, or you're Cody Bellinger and you don't have a great season, but at every level and every rung you have got, baseball is just a constant kick to the midsection, and you just got to keep getting up.
Tony Walters. An 0-1 from Alexander. Watches and miss. 1-1. There's the shift. I guess if there's any team or two that's going to employ it in the first game of spring training, it'd be these two. Always among the leaders in shifts.
I mean, so this is a crazy thing. So, you know, Walters, right? This isn't David Ortiz up at the Big Papi up at the plate, right? Or this is you're shifting in a spring game with Walters. So are you really shifting because of Walters, or are you shifting
to practice
because
the shift?
To practice the shift.
Yeah.
Right. Like, what is it? Obviously, you're practicing for the shift.
Shifting as many times as you can, get it out of your system, because you're not going to be allowed to after this year.
There you go.
Just unload the tank. Is it true that if you don't use it, you lose it?
There you go.
1-2 on Walters. Intriguing guy for the Dodgers to have in camp here. He defensively is considered one of the more slick players, one of the more slick receivers in the National League in his time with the Rockies, and then over to the Chicago Cubs last year. Only played in a handful of games at the major league level, and never has hit a ton. But look, they're not looking for a starting catcher. They have Will Smith. And they're not even looking for a backup catcher. They have Austin Barnes. But to have Walters potentially as a third option, and as we talk about him never hitting much, he bangs one into the gap and heads his way to second. It's a double for Walters.
You know, and at the very least, you know, you can put him down in AAA, and he's an option to bring up if needed. He's got the big league experience. We talked about it earlier. Super athletic.
Two gone here in the 7th. Tying run in scoring position now for Jason Martin with the first home run of spring training for the Dodgers. Strike one. It's 1-1. So we look back at his 6th inning home run the other way for the 26-year-old out of Corona, California.
Yeah, the ball up and away, and drives it really well to left center.
Went to Orange Lutheran High School.
Yeah, that's a top program in Southern California, private high school. Always puts out some good ball players. Also, Garrett Cole, pitcher for the Yankees out of UCLA. He was a student athlete at Orange Lutheran.
On a 2-1 pitch, Martin fouls it off 2-2. He's about the only guy the Yankees are bringing back from last year, huh? Garrett Cole. They're overhauling that roster. I say that completely tongue-in-cheek.
Right,
they still,
right.
of course, have
everybody that, yeah.
a lot of
Rizzo
key
back
pieces, but Sanchez traded, or Urshela traded. Today, Luke Voigt traded. It's a lot more maneuvering than you normally see from a team who's been at the top of the division. I know missed the postseason last year, but near the top of the division perennially lately.
Well, you know, the crazy thing is there's been a lot going on. There's been trades, obviously free agent signings, but there's still a ton left to be done, right?
Martin again the other way. Pretty deep fly ball into the corner. It's already got 1 home run. That one was really close to being 2 instead of foul ball. Yeah, I thought, I don't know about you, but I figured when the lockout ended and free agency started, it would be like Black Friday at Target.
Right.
You know, just like people running people over to get in and grab that flat screen, get that blender, $49.99.
Oh.
But a little bit more of a slow drip.
It really, well, I mean, for me, it's kind of fascinating. It's been interesting how things have played out, and you know, what kind of money is Correa going to get? What kind of where's he going? I mean,
Martin sends this one the other way as well, but just missed it. And pulled in to end the inning. We've played 7 in Glendale. It's the Brewers 3 and the Dodgers 2. One of the surprise stars of the 2021 season, Alex Vesia. Top of the 8th inning. Vesia comes on to pitch in a 3-2 game. This is the guy that came out of the middle of nowhere to put up the #1 average against in the majors. So Josh Hader of these Milwaukee Brewers held opponents to a 127 average. Alex Vesia held him to 126.
Right. I mean, what's he? College of the East Bay? Is that where he's from? I mean, it's just it's the
Cal State East Bay.
Cal State East Bay, right? I mean, you know, bizarre story, and you know the velocity has continued to get better and better, and I mean, as you mentioned, when you look at the numbers that he put up, and then you put him side by side with Josh Hader, man.
Got him in a deal with one other minor leaguer for Dylan Floro just before spring training last year. His first pitch of the spring is swung on and missed. So last spring training, he thought that he'd head to Florida. He's a Marlin at that point, a little bit early. Get himself acquainted, get some work in at the Marlins complex. Went and bought a new truck while he was down there. Feeling good, right? Might break into the majors full time. He had made his debut the shortened season before. He's got this new truck he's flying around in. And then he gets the call that he's been traded. And he said his first thought was, oh my gosh, the Dodgers? I get to go back to Southern California and play for the Dodgers, because he's from down around San Diego. So this is returning home for him. And then his second thought was, oh man, think of all the paperwork I'm going to have to redo on that truck. He just filled it all out. And then he called both his parents, and they were both screaming on the other end of the phone. Couldn't believe that they were going to be able to go to several games of homestand to watch him pitch, if he happened to make the major leagues. Right. And it was not necessarily a likely thing that he became a big piece of what the Dodgers were doing right away. It didn't come up until May 1st. And remember, at first, struggled mightily. And so they sent him back down. But he figured it out in a big way. Came back up from July to the end of the season. He had a sub-1 ERA. And the biggest thing for him was just getting those walks under control.
Again, as you mentioned, that you know, the velocity and the ability to really ramp it up. You get it over the plate. I mean, he's deadly. I mean, he can only he's his own worst enemy when he does get into trouble. I mean, you look at this Dodger bullpen, so many options for Dave Roberts as far as when to use guys. I don't think there's anybody that's in a typecast role yet. right? I don't know that we have a designated, this guy's pitching this inning, this guy. I mean, it kind of get a feel that, Blake might be the closer right now, but Hudson, Gratterall. I mean, again, there's no set role.
Tommy Kahnle, who's expected to be available, if not right away, then very early on. Somebody that they got from the New York Yankees, signed to a 2-year contract, knowing that they wouldn't have him last year.
Well, so yeah, didn't have him last year.
Tommy John surgery. Leadoff man aboard on the walk against Vesia here in the 8th in a 3-2 game. And of course, the name we haven't mentioned is Kenley Jansen, who is still out there in free agency. All-time leader in saves in Dodger franchise history. They've not closed the door on a reunion with Kenley, but at this point, still unsigned, still has plenty of suitors.
I kind of feel like if I'm looking at the Dodger ball club right now, and the depth is just crazy everywhere, and there are a ton of options down in the bullpen and guys that have closed and have had success, but you don't have that guy like a Kenley that is like, that's your closer and here's your 300 saves, or even whether it's, there's been talk about Kimbrel with the White Sox, and maybe they do, they go with what they have.
There aren't too many of those guys, right? There aren't too many of those Kenley Jansens and Craig Kimbrels out there who are those.
But there's 2 of them right there.
Yeah.
Right there. There's 2 of them, right? And I just find it hard to believe that as deep as this organization is and just, where they are. And again, maybe the feeling is, the guys in the bullpen right now, like, those are our guys, and they're going to be able to handle the role. But I feel like there's something to be said about experience and closing games and postseason, and again, Hudson did it with the Nationals.
That's a pop fly into short left center field. Seen the sun give guys some issues today, but this one spotted and pulled in by Alvarez. And something to be said too, right, for knowing that the 9th inning is yours. And we've seen teams go to a little more flexibility in the back end and have multiple closers, but you hear relievers still say, well, sure, I'll pitch in whatever role they ask. Yeah, you like to know what that role is going to be going into the day. Andrew Monasterio, 287 in the minor leagues last year, getting his first at-bat of the spring against Vesia. 1 on, 1 out, and he takes ball 1. Now the bullpen for the Dodgers last year, second only to the Giants in terms of ERA. Number 1 in the majors, holding opponents to a 2.05 average. They're going to add Tommy Kahnle to the equation. You mentioned Daniel Hudson. They're going to get Caleb Ferguson back after he missed last season following Tommy John. And if there's one area where we've seen this front office be able to go out and find quote unquote nobodies and still have them produce, it would be the bullpen. And you can probably say that across baseball as second base is swiped. That's the spot where teams are less and less willing to go out and spend big money in free agency, to trade a bunch of prospect capital. Outside of the top handful of guys, you're just not going to go out and chase it.
Well, and it makes sense because you've seen that, organizations, they may start with one guy, but then over the course of the season, a younger kid may develop and may find his way into that role. The kid with the Giants last year, name escapes me, but the right-hander. Yeah, I mean, wow. Even the Braves, and I get it. Like why go out and kill your resources on a closer? Although I would do, the Kimbrel thing is enticing just because it's 1 year, and I believe that's $16 million he's owed. If Kenley were receptive to, something, a 2-year deal or something like that, which, again, he's earned a earned a position where, he doesn't have to take that. Put it this way, I guess what I would say is I'm not worried about the Dodgers situation in the least, but if you're trying to nitpick something,
it'd be that 9th inning, and it'd be the back end of the rotation.
Right. I mean, again, though, I don't even.
Want to stereo down on strikes, 2 away.
It's like you're just kind of fishing for something, right?
It's all relative.
I got to
that's
find
for sure.
something to complain about, right? It's just.
Well, the one thing that is impossible to nitpick at this point is the lineup.
Oh my God!
And
right?
even if the pitching doesn't, on paper, look like it's set to put up the kind of numbers it has in years past, this offense, you can make the argument,
right,
can just outscore you and consistently do that. There's something floating around. I don't know if you saw on social media earlier today, maybe yesterday, when Freeman was first announced, that this lineup coming into the season. So I looked at weighted runs created plus, and you don't need to know what that equation is. All you need to know is that it's a number where 100 is average, anything above it is better, anything below it is worse, and it just basically tries to quantify how productive an offense is. The 2022 Dodger offense in weighted runs created plus heading into the season, career mark combined, is 128.
That's crazy.
The 1927 Yankees going into the season, 126, and that's adjusted for era.
Right.
So again, it's just a fun stat to play around with. You got to actually play the games, but it is freaky and it is thrilling to think about going into the year what this offense can be like. Jake Lamb puts that one away in front of the Brewers dugout and sends this game to the bottom of the 8th. Air guitar is out here in Glendale, Arizona. What a beautiful day to be at the ballpark. You hear the sounds of baseball back, the pop of the mitt, the crack of the bat, and the joyful cheers of the crowd taking in this spring opener. First of 16 games in the Cactus League schedule, so in Arizona. And then the Dodgers and Angels do what they do every spring and play the 3-game Freeway Series as the final tune-up. It's ball 1 on Miguel Vargas in a 3-2 game, bottom of the 8th. Hey, so we were talking about if you are nitpicking, this Dodger roster, what can still be addressed? What questions do you have going into the season? And you'd probably say back into the rotation, and what does the 9th inning look like? Well, one of those things partially addressed. Dodgers officially have signed Tyler Anderson, veteran starting pitcher, former of the Colorado Rockies, the Pittsburgh Pirates, and then also with the Giants a little bit, Seattle Mariners last season. And so Anderson, somebody who will compete for the back end of that rotation as well. And I think especially important to note that early on this season, because of the shortened spring training, you are not going to have 5 starting pitchers that go into the year ready to give you 6 innings in their first start. As Vargas parks one in left center field and starts the inning with a base hit. You're going to have a bunch of guys. You're going to have a full staff of guys that are built up for a few innings, that are built up to 4 or 5 innings, can piece it together for the first few weeks as they continue the buildup that would normally happen in spring training before it kind of evolves into a more traditional staff a few weeks into the year.
Well, and we talked about that rule where the options 5 times, where I think that also is going to play a role into things, because in years past, we've seen the organization effectively, we call a guy up, start him, we send him back down, we bring somebody else. And I don't know that you're going to be able to do that as much this year.
That is a 5-4-3 double play off of the bat of Pages. 2 out.
And look, the organization, too, I feel like they're not putting all their eggs in one basket at the first 4 months of the season, right, or 3 months of the season. You're just going to, you navigate. You're not going to win the division in April or anything. And you be ready for September, October. You want to have Kershaw healthy. You want to have, Walker Buehler rested. You don't want to have to throw him like you did last year. You don't. That ball's crushed.
By Romero to left center field, but it looks like he got it off the end of the barrel a little bit. And the inning ends. To the 9th inning we go on the spring opener in a 1-run game. Clevenger comes on to handle the 9th inning for the Dodgers.
He was effective last year. Came in and filled a role.
Got him from the Philadelphia Phillies in the offseason prior. Turned 28 years old next month. So a 3-2 game with the Brewers getting a couple in the second. They added one in the fourth. The Dodgers chipping away. A home run from Jason Martin. They cut it to 3-2, and that's where we stand now as we go to the 9th inning. And these two teams get the spring going. Two of the three winningest teams in the National League over the last 3 seasons in terms of winning percentage. Dodgers 1, Braves are 2, Brewers are 3. And these are a couple franchises that met in 2 postseasons in a 3-year span. That memorable NLCS in 2018 took the Dodgers 7 games to win. Wild card round in 2020, where the Brewers really didn't belong in the postseason, but because it was a 16-team field, and they got in, even though they're below 500. The Dodgers made quick work of them. Brett Sullivan leads off this 9th and pulls it to first center line. Jake Lamb, 1 pitch, 1 out. Hey, speaking of postseason, how do you feel about the expanded postseason to 12 teams? I know we touched on it a little bit, but how do you feel about that?
I like it. I like the 3 wild card teams in each league, right? That's 6. So, yeah. I don't know that 14, I mean, it was fun, but I don't know that it makes sense just because, then it kind of seems like everybody gets in, right? And with baseball, it really is whoever gets hot. You don't necessarily, you could be the best team over the 162 and you could be out in the first series. I mean, that's how it works. So I kind of feel like the 12 teams getting in, I like that. I think that it allows for fan bases and organizations to, make more of a concerted effort because you can be that 11th or 12th team. I don't know if I'm a ball club like the Dodgers. I want fewer teams in, right?
Yeah.
I want fewer series because I don't want anything to go wrong.
Well, I think a couple things on that. Number one, yeah, the big money teams, big market teams that expect to be there don't like it because anything that brings in a chance at more chaos you don't like. At the same time, though, the way that it's structured, if you take care of business, you're going to get the bye, and essentially you don't have any more chance at chaos than you would have in the previous system.
Right.
So the way that it's set up is the top 2 teams are going to get byes. Breaking ball sits him down, 2 gone in the 9th. The 3 seed, so the division winner with the third best record overall is going to face the 2nd wild card team, the 6th seed. 4 will face 5, and those 2 winners will move on to face the top 2 seeds who are sitting there with a bye. Now that first series now, the wild card series is going to be 3 games. There is no more 1-game knockout. And
I don't like that from a fan perspective. Just
the 1-game knockouts.
I love that.
Yeah.
Right? I love that.
All 3 of those games, by the way, are going to be played at the Better Seeds Stadium.
Yeah. So here's the other thing too, though. I think it'll be better next year when they have the balanced schedule, because remember, there are teams, there could be wild card teams that, maybe they play in a lesser division and they're getting in and they can have a better record because they're playing an on-balance schedule this year. I mean, I feel like the Central this year, the National League Central, is not good.
Brewers clear favorite?
Yeah, I mean, especially if the injuries with St. Louis, with Flaherty and Reyes, if those are of any significance. Now, again, you could, it depends where Correa and Story sign. Theoretically, I doubt that they would go to St. Louis, but, I mean, they don't. I mean, who's the shortstop there?
There's a report today, by the way, that Story
is not going there.
The Giants are linked.
Yeah, I mean it.
Good stuff from Garrett Clevenger, huh? Lightning quick.
Wow.
1, 2, 3, top of the 9th. The perfect spring training inning. The bottom of the 9th inning, they trail 3-2. Joe Davis, Eric Karros, Kirsten Watson. First game of the spring, 3 weeks from opening day at Coors Field in Denver. Bring your coats on that first trip, BK. Going Denver and Minnesota.
With an off day in Minnesota. Hey. What are you doing an off day in Minnesota?
Going skiing, learning about Prince. Here's Zach Brown.
There you go.
They handle the 9th inning from Milwaukee.
For the Dodgers, first baseman number 18, Jake Lamb.
And Jake Lamb to lead it off for the Dodgers. So that opening road trip, that's 3 games in Colorado, 2 games in Minnesota, and then they return home for the home opener against the Cincinnati Reds, the same way that they opened up Dodger Stadium the first time around. Back in 1962, it was the Reds that came in to christen it. And on this, the 60-year anniversary, the opening of Dodger Stadium. It'll be the Reds again coming into town. You've got opening day on that first Thursday. And Jackie Robinson Day, day 2 of the home schedule. The Reds and the Braves on that opening homestand. It should be a lot of fun to get things going. 1 ball, 1 strike on Lamb.
And remember, on April 15th, Jackie Robinson jersey. First 40,000 fans.
Bounce to first. And Lamb is the first out of the 9th. Day 2 of the spring tomorrow, and the Dodgers take on the Seattle Mariners.
Second baseman number 29, Andy Burns.
They made a few improvements, huh? Mariners are going to be an interesting ball club.
They're getting so close, and postseason baseball in Seattle is going to be a lot of fun if and when that happens. That's a division, though, that is up for the taking. I mean, you could make a pretty good argument that Seattle should win the American League West.
Really?
No?
You think the Robbie Ray and then the Winker and Suarez, that's enough to... I mean, how do you overtake Houston? I mean, even if Correa doesn't
not
go
going to
back,
be the same, are they?
Verlander's coming back.
That's true.
I mean, you know,
let's say this: you wouldn't be crazy to say that the Mariners are going to win the division. Maybe they shouldn't be favored. Burns hooks this one in the air to left, back towards the wall. Andy Burns has tied the game with a 9th inning solo home run. It's 3-3.
That feels good. Andy Burns getting it, tying this ball game up.
Right fielder number 93, Noda.
With their Cactus League championship hopes in the balance, Burns delivers. There's Noda taking a ball.
You know, the thing is, though, so he hit the home run, and you're coming back into the dugout, and all the guys that started, all the quote unquote the stars, they're gone. They're in the clubhouse, and so you're looking for guys to high five, and you're gonna do it. You want to do it early. You get the high five from Belly, and
that's right.
JT.
Noda spent last season in Double-A, 29 home runs for Tulsa.
Like he just looks like he's up there to do one thing. I mean, that is just hammer something.
On the ground, nice play at second for out number 2. Letting each other know that we can practice extra innings on another day.
You're like, it ain't happening. I got dinner reservations. Counts.
dinner reservations and a successful day with a healthy bunch.
Well, that,
right?
yeah, it's so true. So true.
And the goal is to 18 more times say just that.
Yeah.
One more AB for Eddie Alvarez.
Let's hear it for going one more inning. Yeah! Let's hear it for those that go home.
Alvarez, a 32-year-old who had some time in the majors with the Marlins last couple of seasons. Finally made it to the big leagues when he turned 30. Longtime White Sox farmhand. So he spent some time at Camelback Ranch and then went to the Marlins organization, continued to climb the ladder there. 7 minor league seasons before getting that big league opportunity a couple years ago. On an 0-2 pitch in a tie game in the 9th inning. He digs it out, rolls it to first, a diving stop that will end the game. And it's a tie to start spring training.
Here's Doc. Good way to start things. Saw some good things. Kirsch, Taylor. Guys had some good swings. Tie ball game.
Nobody's hurt. Nobody loses.
We're all
Everybody
winners.
wins. Yeah, not many times you can say that in life. But here we are with baseball back, and every one of us winners. For Eric Karros, Kirsten Watson, and the rest of our crew, Joe Davis saying so long from Glendale, Arizona, on the day where Freddie Freeman was introduced as a Los Angeles Dodger. We'll see his Dodger debut one of these days coming up soon, and it'll be a sight to see. Freddie Freeman wearing Dodger blue. Got the Dodgers and the Mariners at 1 o'clock tomorrow. We'll talk to you again then.